Today on the table I have the PT111 and the G2C. Currently you will see a price split of about $10 because the G2C is on sale, otherwise they'd be identical in price. The G2C being $10 cheaper than the PT111. Now I'm pretty sure they're discontinuing the PT111 because I'm not seeing them back into our distributor. Size, shape, and weight, they're identical. If there is a difference in weight, my stupid scale isn't sensitive enough to detect it. Yes, I know, I need to get a new scale. Both have accessory rails, so you can put a flashlight on there. Both of them, 12+1. The magazines are completely identical. The G2C actually even says PT111 on the magazine. I'm sure that'll eventually be changed once they get rid of all the old magazines. The differences in the firearm, the texture on the G2C is raised up. It's the same texturing, they just raised it up a little bit more, give you a little bit better traction. Where the PT111, the texturing was flush with the rest of the grip. There was a slight raise, but not like this. This is probably double. Mag release is exactly the same on both firearms. Very easy to hit. Mag comes out nice. It's sticky going in, but it's not bad. Takes a little bit of force to push it in. Both have external safeties. Very usable with just your thumb. Both have loaded chamber indicators. The construction in the lower receivers are pretty close to identical. There is a little difference. Your PT111, it doesn't say PT111 next to the serial number. The G2C does. I actually had to check the serial number to make sure I didn't accidentally mess up the two lowers and put the wrong lower on the wrong lower receiver. Another difference is your G2C uses roll pins. This uses your standard solid push pin on your PT111. The lower receiver on the G2C does still have the equipment for the safety lock, even though they took it off of the G2C that it had on the PT111. Also, the logoing looks different. PT111, it says Taurus around it, and then it's got the bowl in the center. The G2C just has the bowl. Looks a little bit cleaner. I kind of like it a little better too. On your slide, a couple differences there too. The G2C, they cleaned it up. They removed all the writing on it and just put Taurus across it nice and big. I do like the way that looks a little bit better. I don't know. It's just me though. Also on this side, they cleaned up all the writing and just put G2C on the side. The biggest difference, without a doubt, which I also feel is the most important difference, is they removed your safety lock. So your PT111 has a key you can put in here that will lock the firearm down. Your G2C does not. Why I feel that's important is because customers would come in. I actually figured out this problem by mistake because my uncle had bought a PT111. He's like, hey, when I shoot this thing, sometimes it'll fire, sometimes it won't. Sometimes it'll fire and just go click, nothing will happen. Other times it'll fire and go off. So I took it out to the range and I was playing with it and I realized that it was in the unlock position. Let me grab the key so I can demonstrate this. Alright, so here's the lock position. And then you turn it all the way this way to unlock it, and you'll feel like a little click. His was just slightly off of that. So it would allow it to fire sometimes, and sometimes it wouldn't. And there's like really no positive lockup. So just by normal use, you can engage the safety lock system. And this isn't a standalone problem. This actually happens quite frequently. Customers would bring in their firearm and be overeager to sell it. And they wouldn't say why. Then I put the key in there after we had bought the firearm and it wasn't all the way unlocked, you know, and then I'm like, oh, well, they were trying to sell me a broken firearm. When it first started happening, you know, I was real sympathetic. I'd be like, hey, you know, I'm assuming that this has a problem and you want to sell it, and I'm assuming that it only fires sometimes. And they'd be like, yeah, how'd you know? And like, well, you put the key in there and you got to unlock it all the way, and then it'll work normally. And they'd still want to sell it anyway, which I don't blame them. I probably would too. But after a while, I just got to the point where I'm like, you know what? They came in here intentionally trying to rip me off. So if they don't let me know that the firearm has a problem, I'll take their overeager purchase, pay peanuts for the firearm, and make a decent profit off of it. Trigger brake. The G2C, you do get movement in the front sight when the trigger breaks. This firearm is also second strike capable. Here's your reset. Right there. PT111. You also get movement in the front sight when the trigger breaks. This firearm is also second strike capable. And here's your reset. Right there. The only difference I feel in the brake at all is this one, when it hits the wall, the G2C, it is a lot lighter. I don't have a scale to actually measure the weight. But if I had to guess, I'd say it's pretty close to double the weight to pull the PT111 as it is the G2C. When you purchase the firearms, you're going to get very similar equipment. Your PT111, you get a second 12-round magazine, instruction manuals, a little warranty card, range flag. With your G2C, you get the same 12-round magazine. It actually even says PT111 on it. Owner's manual. But your G2C, you're going to receive a gun lock. Your PT111, you do not, because that was the whole purpose of these keys, is to not need a gun lock. You can just lock your firearm down. Looks totally fine. Again, like I said, your G2C does have the equipment in the lower half that would still lock the firearm down. So if this gets really dirty and it accidentally pushes this button down right here, when you pull the trigger, you're still going to get a dead trigger, or it'll engage the safety. So if you're noticing that happening, it probably means you need to clean the firearm. I do feel Taurus at some point needs to remove this equipment, so it's just non-existent in the lower receiver. Your triggers do look identical. One guy I had heard said that his PT111 had a skeleton trigger in it and winded up breaking.
So this was a hollow piece. I'm going to put a picture in there right now. You can see there was a hollow piece. And with the new one, it's a solid piece.
The newer PT111s don't have that. They have the exact same. There's no difference in look at all with the G2C trigger. Both firearms also do have adjustable sights. Now with your G2C, you don't get the tool to adjust your rear sight for windage. So, windage and elevation. So you're going to have to use a really small screwdriver. Your PT111, your lockdown key, does also have the tool on it, so you can adjust your sights. Now what would I pick? The G2C or the PT111? I think no matter what, both these firearms are fine. The only consistent problem I'm seeing with customers is this thing slipping to out of the fully unlocked position, causing the firearm to have issues. And then on YouTube, I see these things break. But because the G2C has the exact same one, your little trigger safety in it, I don't think that's really an issue anymore. And if it is an issue, they both have the same exact issue. But because the G2C does not have the lockdown key, that's what I'd pick. I'm really hoping Taurus removes those lockdown keys from all their firearms. But thank you for watching. Leave in the comments below which one you would pick and why. If you've had any problems with either of these two firearms, so future purchasers will know about it, don't forget to subscribe. And another thing, you guys are going to want to check out this guy's channel. His arsenal is amazing. Like, every time I watch his videos, I just drool. Every time he puts out a video, he pulls out like 20 grand in firearms I will only ever be able to dream about. Or, you know, maybe someday I'll get rich and be able to buy them myself. But yeah, definitely check out his channel. You'll like watching his videos and seeing all the crazy guns he's got. It's kind of like PSE Russia, like where he'd pull out these crazy expensive guns you'll probably never be able to own. Same thing here.